Okay, I want to start off by giving all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim, Rakat, Kwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who teacheth the Bible in 100% truth. And shalom to the hopeful elect of the 12 tribes of Israel, starting with the 144,000. The 12 tribes of Israel consisting of the Negroes, Latinos and Native Americans in the land of the Americas, as well as a speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners living amongst the other nations. Shalom to you. Okay, today I'm back on the topic of the MOTB, major prophecy coming to pass very soon. We've seen escalation in the Middle East, for example, heading towards World War III. But this can't come to pass until we have the introduction of the MOTB, which is, just in case you're new, Revelation chapter 13 speaks of the beast from the earth, and it's, without going into too much detail, it's pretty much representing a geopolitical system that is ruling the earth today. You could describe it as the EU and NATO, America involved, the UN even get involved in this particular situation, and this is a geopolitical system which controls, manipulates how things are done on this earth, and that is ultimately the control behind these different governments that you have all around the world. People always say, well, the government, it seems like this and that, and they just do things that doesn't make sense, and it's because they're given a directive, and so that directive comes from one source, if you like. Ultimately it's the banking elites. We always go into that. They can manipulate the UN can manipulate the beast system, and EU and NATO together with the manipulation of America, and therein lies the beast from the earth. But it goes on to talk about a major prophecy which is coming to pass very soon, and it says here, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And it goes on to say, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. So this is a major prophecy that's coming to pass very soon. This is what's we're gonna witness at the peak, if you like, around the peak times of Jacob's trouble, great tribulation that's coming upon this earth like never been seen before. And we're looking at things that are taking us in that direction. There's many videos that go out and bringing out changes in the law, changes with corporate organizations, so on and so forth, things that are happening. Infrastructure is being set up around us right now, and it's all taking us towards the Internet of Things. Ultimately, the scriptures talk about this as the MOTB. But that's just if you're new. So if you're new, then from that point you're understanding that, and it's making sense, and you've got a lot to learn to catch up. But this article here today, this is the 19th of October 2024, the Telegraph, says millions to be handed health monitoring smartwatches by the NHS, which is obviously the UK. Devices to track blood pressure and cancer recovery to be given out under 10-year plan to save the health service. And you've got, this is the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting. And I'll just quickly get through this article so we can have an understanding of what's going on. It says that smartwatches and wearable tech will be handed to millions of people under a 10-year plan to save the NHS. And the NHS, if you don't know, is pretty much a health care system within the UK, and it's government funded, which obviously comes through taxpayer money. And so that provides a free healthcare system to citizens within the UK. So you can come, you're over here, you have some emergency situation, and you need to see a hospital, go to a hospital, see a doctor straight away. And then the idea is you can go to these different healthcare services, and it all comes under the umbrella of the NHS. So when you say the NHS, you're pretty much describing, there's people in the UK, for example, who have enough money, they'll get private healthcare. They may pay Bupa or this or that on the other, and they'll have their own private healthcare. But when you're enrolled as a citizen, whether through birth or through entry, you automatically get given national insurance number, so on and so forth, and then you're enrolled into this NHS system. Whether you use it or not is another thing. So devices to track blood pressure, glucose spikes, and even monitor how cancer patients are responding to treatment will be given out to prevent ill health and treat more patients at home. Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary, will announce a national conversation on the future of the NHS on Monday, which is tomorrow, asking patients and staff across the country to shape major reforms. So it's all going back to these smart watches and wearable tech. This is leading us all towards the MOTB. It says here, on Saturday he said, if we want to save the things we love about the NHS, then we have to change it. Our 10-year health plan will turn the NHS on its head, transforming it into a neighbourhood health service. And so I've explained before the time where Jacob's trouble, which we're on the edge of now, we're entering into that, the time of Jacob's trouble, the Great Tribulation, the time of the introduction of the MOTB, is the Most High turning the world on its head, because Esau's turned it already on its head, and so the Most High's got to turn it back. And then when you take into account that fact alone, then you start to understand why it's going to be a time like never been seen before. But obviously you've had the great flood in the days of Noah, but it was like a great reset. Everybody but 8 people were killed on pretty much on the planet Earth, and there was a great reset, if you like. But the fashion in which this particular change is going to come, the time of tribulation, the introduction of the kingdom of heaven, the turning of the world upside down, because Esau already turned it upside down. It's going to be a time like never been seen before. Tribulation, death, famine. You've got these natural occurrences with the so-called natural occurrences with the weather. You can have so-called UFO invasion, wars, and eventually ICBMs. So it's going to be a time like never been seen before. When you fit all those events into a short period of time, you could say fit all those events into a 6 month period of time or a year. That's gonna that's one hell of a year. So carrying on here, it says our 10-year health plan will turn the NHS on its head, transform it into a neighbourhood health service, powering by cutting edge technology that helps us stay healthy and out of hospital. We will rebuild the health service around what patients tell us they need. Mr. Streeting will set out 3 major shifts that he says are necessary to make the service fit for the future. And just before we go on, you see this diagram here. It says NHS backlog continues to grow. And so what it is, the population's increasing all the time. For example, the waiting times for operations, because this is a free service, right? So anybody needs they got a problem, then they go and they say, I need an operation, and you're on a waiting list because so many people are trying to use this one particular service. When I was in Liverpool for about a year, I was up there living there for about a year, sort of towards north west England. You've got these you had girls that would go to the NHS and say that they're depressed, and then they get them the help, and they say, why are you depressed? Oh, I'm depressed because my chest is flat. And so then they'd get the long-term solution was to get a boob job, a boob enhancement on the NHS. So up there, they got a next way of using and abusing the system, and all this counts. It all goes into that backlog of the NHS system. But when I went up to Liverpool, they're all running that same scam, if you like, to go there, say they're depressed, and why are you depressed? Because my chest is flat. And then these are like 16, 18, 19, whatever, young women. Up there, life's it's a little bit different. But this is the backlogs, and you can see obviously 2020 to 2021, that year that we speak of, this elusive word that we like to avoid because we don't want to highlight it on the algorithm. And look what's happened in the UK. You've got this major increase, and you could put that down to many things. And mentioned before, 2020 to 2030 is a time of great reset. These banking elites, the Most High, to turn the world upside down, he's given the power to these banking elites to introduce this new technology, to introduce a new world, which is based around what you can see here on the screen, Sustainable Development Goals. And as you can see on the right hand side on this, you've got the UN involved again. Mission, a shared blueprint for peace and prosperity for people and the planet now and into the future. Established in 2015, closed 2030. So they've got this goal to change the world by 2030. You can see here it says that this situation, the C19, you can see highlighted here, in 2020 to 2023 made these challenges worse. It impacted all 17 goals and emphasized the interconnectedness of these. I want to be careful with these words because they really do start to take your videos down. So as we keep telling you, they've got this time of change. They're introducing all these false flag events, these situations that are dangerous, like in 2020, 2021, like you've got going on around the world at the minute, civil unrest in America, so on and so forth, the economic turmoil, you've got wars in Ukraine and in the Middle East. These are driving up inflation. You've got all these problems. They keep going on about carbon footprint. And so, to tackle all that, what they're doing at the minute, I went into it the other day about the weather. They manipulate the weather to make it seem real hectic and bad. And you say, well, why is this? Oh, it's because the temperature of the planet is increasing. How do you know the temperature of the planet is increasing? They told you. Can you prove it? No, you can't. So, you don't really know. Oh, because it's hot today, and it's never normally that hot. But how do you not know that they're affecting, manipulating the weather around you? So it's all a big con, really, and they just introduce these situations, as we've been telling you. It's going to get real bad, and ultimately the answer is going to be this MOTB, which is based around this change, this Sustainable Development Goals. Even when you go back to the article, the NHS is in crisis, and so this situation is man manipulated. The way that they run the NHS is terrible, and so they've got all these holes, all these problems. They let them manifest, and people are crying out for change. So when they introduce this way, look, they've got 10-year health plan. this based around new technology, wearable devices. So when the people are screaming out for a change, and then they go, well, here's a way to change it, these people are going to lap it up. They're going to say, yep, it's new technology, we're more advanced than the people before us. This is how the doctors are doing it now. They're going to get us to do these wearable devices, and these simple people in the general public will just fall for it. So continue on here. It says he will add that this means moving more care from hospitals to the community, a shift from treatment to prevention, and switching from analog to digital services, and the Internet of Things. So I've mentioned that a minute ago. You can look that up yourself. It says here, technology will be key to this, the government will say, with gadgets handed out so that people can track their own health. This includes smartwatches to allow patients with high blood pressure to monitor their levels, and those with type 2 diabetes to manage blood sugar spikes by receiving alerts on their phones. Smart rings permitting cancer patients to track vital signs may also be rolled out more widely. This is trials on patients with lung, bowel and blood cancer in Greater Manchester have used the rings to check on heart rate, so it's already in use. There's temperature, physical activity levels and sleep, and patients undergo treatment. So there's a Fitbit style devices and other types of activity monitors will be offered to patients recovering from strokes to assess their gait and mobility. It says with smartwatches to monitor tremors in patients with Parkinson's disease. So and when you want one word to incorporate all the things that are being mentioned here, you'd put that into the word biometric. Bio is obviously the body, the biological metric is measurement. So your body measurements, and these are, there's quite a list of different things that they can actually monitor. I'm pretty sure there's more, but just to give you a brief list, they've given quite a wide range of different things. It says that the shift to home monitoring could mean far less reliance on hospitals and GP visits. The GP is like your local doctor. What it is in the UK, if you've got like a small problem like the flu or the cold or something, or your child's got earache, you're supposed to take them to the local GP. If you've got something more serious, accident, an emergency or something, you're supposed to go to the hospital, or the GP could refer you to the hospital if you've got this ongoing problem and ultimately you need surgery or something to fix it. But what's happening at the minute is that the GPs are really bad on seeing patients. It's a countrywide thing where the GPs claim they work too hard, so they cut back their hours, and so on and so forth. They refuse to work weekends, things like that, and then they say it's for their health. This puts more pressure on the hospitals, so the hospitals are inundated and they've got huge waiting lists, and even in the emergency departments people are turning up with silly problems. So this is part of the reason why people are crying out for change, and anyone in the UK who's sat in an emergency department in the last couple of years, unfortunately, have ended up there and had to sit there. You find that you're sitting there waiting there for hours, and then it becomes a hostile place to be in, because there's people shouting, arguing, people kicking off, because and then a lot of people just turn around and say this service is diabolical. You're living in the Western society. These people are overly proud. They think that they're better. For example, in the UK, you've got tarmac on the road, you've got pavement, you've got a lot of buildings, and for that reason alone, because they've got a drive-through, they'll think automatically that they're better than the man in Africa, or the man over here, or the man over there. So they think like they pay their money. I'm pretty sure it's the same in America. They pay their money, they want their service. I want it now, this, that, and the other. That's why you end up with Karens. These types of people called Karens, and you see on social media, so on and so forth. So what are these Karens screaming out for? This NHS is broken and you need to fix it. So when they come with this thing that he's about to announce tomorrow, do you think anybody's going to batter an eyelid and say, no, well, we don't want this? No, they're going to say the opposite. But yeah, it says type 2 diabetes patients are currently required to go to hospital or the GP once a month on average. Technology will transform patient care. The government will also detail plans for the network of neighbourhood health centres, placing GPs, nurses, physiotherapists and health visitors all under one roof to stop people being passed from pillar to post, because they get sent to the hospital. Hospital says you shouldn't be here for that, so go back. GP don't want to see you, so they send you back. You're going around in circles. It says the changes will also see a single patient record with all information on the NHS app. So this is what they want to do now. They're starting to put it in place. They're going to start announcing digital wearable devices, and then they're going to start to say, well, we need one record of information. So whether you go to the hospital, whether you go to this local health centre to see the GP or the physiotherapist or whoever, then you even think like people who are pregnant and they go to the hospitals to do the scans every how many weeks until the baby's born, and they could even move that into these health centres to stop people coming to the main hospitals. So they'll get all sorts of things going on in one local centre, but then they've got the main hospital, which covers a wider range of area. And so that's why they want that one patient record, so that whether you go to the hospital or go to that local centre, it just all shows up, everything's there, everything's becoming one. A wearable device, moving to digital, everything becoming one. And for the benefit of the people as well. Mr. Streeting said the challenges for the NHS are stark, but the opportunities are huge. Modern technology will transform how patients are cared for, making their lives infinitely easier and the NHS fit for the future. At the same time, we will protect what patients want from the NHS, the family-doctor relationship, free healthcare at the point of need, and shorter waits for appointments. Our 10-year plan will preserve the NHS's traditional values in a modern setting. It's all that going forward, and that's how they drop it to you. The world's moved forward, so we have to catch up. That's why we're behind. We're not using this technology, and you could work for any company and they can drop that on you. Everything could be working. You could be doing the job. Everything's working. Everything's written down on pen and paper. Everything's recorded for. No stocks going missing. Everything's happening and operating within that company. But then someone will come along and say, oh, we're falling behind because the world is doing this and we're missing out. So then that's how you have to update yourself to interact with the rest of the world, so to speak. It said it's going to take time, but it is our mission to take the NHS from the worst crisis in its history. Oh, lo and behold, they've managed to manipulate it so that at this same point where we're at this situation, like we keep saying, they're going to reset everything. We've also got the NHS at its worst crisis in its history. Let's get it back on its feet and make it fit for the future. Streeting, there's only this little bit left. Streeting, NHS is broken. So just an hour after being appointed, after Labour's election victory, so this is a couple months back when the government got voted in, you remember I brought out an article where I was saying that you've got 2024, the year where they're changing a lot of these leaders around the countries, and they're bringing in those new governments to establish the second part of the reset, to really, the first part was building it up through 2020, 2021, and now 2024, by the end we'll have all these new leaders in these new places, in these places around the world, and they're all going to come with that same directive, is to implement this MOTB. We're in that time. But yeah, just an hour after being appointed, after Labour's election victory, Mr. Streeting described the NHS as broken. So they came in straight away. They knew they were going to do this. They came in straight away. All these other governments had refused to admit that the NHS was broken. No, it's fine. We'll just keep doing this and we'll just keep doing that. All of a sudden, 2024, Labour come in, and within hours of winning the election, they come out and they say, no, we're going to just classify it. The NHS is definitely broken. So here you go. The people that are admitting the problems, but now they're going to give you the answer. This is, we keep talking about order out of chaos, and you've seen chaos. There's order is coming very soon. There's more chaos to come. Don't get me wrong. Chaos is not going to stop. All the way up until the day of the Lord, at least. Even a little bit beyond. But you're gonna very soon. You're gonna start to see order being implemented. We're in that time, coming up to the end of 2024, moving into 2025. This agenda they've got, 2020 to 2030. You're pretty much hitting halfway. So since then, he has commissioned an independent investigation by Lord Darzi, the former health minister, which warned that the health service was in critical condition in September. So he's come in, he said it's broken, then he's got this guy to, commission this independent investigation. I mean, how independent do you really think it is? He said, go and do an investigation and come back and make it look bad. So he come back and says, yeah, it's in critical condition. Then he presents that to the people. See, I told you, it's broken. Last week, Mr. Streeting said the unemployed could be given weight loss jabs to help them get back to work. So I found that quite funny, because it's as if they're saying that everyone's sitting at home claiming social benefit, basically overweight, watching TV all day, not doing much, and they want to give you jabs to help get you back to work. Describing the new class of, I'm not going to read that word, the new class of this, you can see it there, as potentially having a monumental impact on obesity and the economy. It's all part of that reset. It says the plan he will announce on Monday, which is tomorrow, is part of the government's health mission to build an NHS fit for the future and shorten the amount of time people spend in ill health through national conversation. Mr. Streeting already announced pilot schemes for the neighbourhood health centres after being inspired by a similar system in Australia. The centres mean that patients with multiple conditions can be treated in one place, with access to scans and treatment for minor injuries such as cuts and sprains, without having to spend hours in overstretched hospitals. So this is what I said a minute ago, and I copy and pasted that, because then obviously in Australia, this is what they've got in Australia. This is Northern Sydney Local Health District. It's community health centre, so they'll bang one of them in your local area. If you're having a scan, like I say, you're pregnant, so you're, I don't know, 8th, 10th, 12th week scan or whatever, you'll go down to one of these. If you just need physiotherapy, you'll go down to one of these. You need to see a doctor about a sprain or a cold or an ongoing problem, you just go here. But then if you've got a real emergency, real operation, you'll be going to the hospital. All this involves wearing digital technology, so they can monitor you at home and then just tell you where you need to go at what certain points. So what they're saying is, you won't have to keep ringing us and saying, oh, what about this and what about that, because everything's monitored. We can see it on the screen. I feel funny, I think my thing's getting worse. No, we can see it on the screen, everything's fine. Just settle down at home. We'll call you for your next visit or whatever else. But this is, they don't give you much on here, just pretty much, Northern Sydney. But that's all it is. They're just going to build stuff like that in your area and tell you to, try and split the workload. And I was looking into because obviously it said wearable devices, you've got the rings, so on and so forth. I mean, these are health watches. I came to this site here that monitor your vital signs, consult with doctors and get medical diagnosis based on your real-time data. And I don't use anything like this, but obviously this is all the range nowadays. So you look, real-time health data can you can share. And look, there's a lot of things. You know, ECG and PPG, body temperature, heart rate, blood oxygen, blood pressure, respiratory rate, steps, distance, calories, workouts, food monitoring, sleep analysis, and weight tracking. And so that's pretty much everything about you. That's all your measurements. And then they'll know whether, you know, from watching all these things, they'll know, oh, he's sleeping because of what's happening. You know, if you're getting jiggy in the bed with your missus, they're going to know because your heart rate's up, going through the roof, and your respiratory rate. So, you know, who knows what else they can incorporate on it. But you know, this company, I looked at them up here. They're based in London, central London, E1, which is pretty much next door. If not, it is. Then it's round about where the City of London are, separate state for the City of London. But yeah, this is what they're selling. They're selling these types of devices. I didn't see any rings, but I mean, you obviously got the smart watches. People know about this. And then you, where is it? Hang on a minute. That's not that one. Yes, the app. So they're going to get you to wear a device, you know, if you're in the UK, and then you know, you've got this kind of thing going up on your phone. So, you know, your activity, fitness, ECG. So here you've got the consultation thread, orthopedic consultation with Dr. John. You know, lately my back was really bad before getting out of bed in the morning. What should I do? Do your exercise. I don't exercise, just starting to. I want to focus on my back pain. See, this is how dumb people are in this society. They'll ask dumb questions like that. Oh, my back's hurting. Why do you think it's hurting? Well, have you ever done any exercise? No, I haven't. Well, there you go. There's your problem. But you get people like that in the society. They don't look after themselves. But this is what they'll do. They'll get you to contact back and forth with your doctor, so it's less visits, you know, all that kind of stuff. And like I say, it's all coming back to that device, which is attached, you know, to your skin on the outside. You know, it's going to be a wearable device, but ultimately, you know, when you look at Revelation chapter 13:16, it says, He causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. And it says the word in, not on, but actually when you go to the word mark, I mean, we know this. It's you know, just for anyone that's new, you've got the word charagma, which is, it comes up, charagma. There's different ways to pronounce it. I'm probably not pronouncing it the correct way, but you've got mark or graven, a stamp or imprinted mark, thing carved, sculpture, graven work. So, and you go to the root word, the internet's a bit slow, hang on. It will come up when it's ready. It will come up with the word karux. Still not coming up. What's going on? Oh, there you go. So karux.
Strong's G 5482. Charux.
Harax. So obviously my pronunciation is wrong. But you know, you look at the bottom here. You've got a pale, or stake, or palisade. A palisade or rampart. So you look at what that is, and you come across one of these, a palisade or rampart, and you end up with one of these. Now there's a picture here. You've got rampart in the palisade, and that's how they would in ancient days they would use that to defend cities or certain areas. So it's a fence used for protection, and obviously for that reason it has the particular shape at the top. So you go back to the scriptures, that mark, pretty much an incision, and cutting into the skin. And you've got the word Karax, which is the palisade, and when you apply that to modern day technology, you end up with one of these, the RFID micro CHIP, as everybody likes to say. And so you can see the delivery system here, which is your palisade, your Karax, and then this is what it will be imprinted into the skin. I mean, this is basic information, but for anyone that's new that comes across it, you'll see what the NHS are doing. They're trying to push everything now. As of tomorrow, they're going to push everything towards digital wearable devices. Their aim is to clean up the system, as they say, but eventually this is moving us towards having that device under the skin. And once you have the device under the skin, it will still read your biometrics. It'll also incorporate your digital financial information. Once they bring down an economic collapse very soon, crash the fiat money system, there'll be no more cash. All your money will be digital, and that information will be stored on this particular device. Your medical information, NHS for example, they want to now incorporate everything onto one record, and that one record will be kept on your device. So you've got this device that has to go under the skin. You've got these particular images here. Like I say, this is just for anyone that comes across it new. We're in the time where it's about to happen, so it's very easy to look at what the NHS are doing, the government, see what direction they're pushing us in, and now start to see what we've been speaking about all this time, the implementation of the MOTB. So you've got all this keys and locks. People in the minute in Sweden are using this for their keys and locks, information from their phone, technology, whatever. It's all incorporated in the hand. So it's an interesting article because, like I say, tomorrow is Monday the 21st of October 2024. The NHS, which is the main institution for people looking after themselves in the UK, and they're coming out and announcing that they're going to move forward in order to fix their broken system, order out of chaos. They're going to start asking patients to have wearable devices, and this is all predictive programming. It's all I forgot what the word is, where they gradualism, where they slowly push you into a new phase. Then this is the end result, what the prophecy spoken of in Revelation chapter 13. You think about this, like I was thinking about this, if you watch like football in England in like the 70s, people didn't really have sponsors, so you look at the kits, everybody had their different colour. You watch it on TV, you see all these different kits, and some teams wore red, some wore blue, and all they had was a number on the back. And then eventually, I think say late 70s, early 80s, teams realised that they could put a sponsor's name on the shirt. So they could say to a company, look, we'll put your name on our shirt, we're quite famous, people look at us, and they'll associate your company with us, and then it will bring you customers. And so you started off with teams having like one sponsor across the front of the shirt. So you look in the 80s, you see teams, even in the 90s, every single football team in the UK had a shirt sponsor if they were a professional team, and they had a shirt with one name written across. You fast forward to today, and there's shirt sponsors all over. They've got one on the arm, they've got a different one on the other arm, and they've got one on the back, they've got one on the front. Then they've got a sponsor with this, a sponsor with that. And so it's just gradualism. You move into that particular world, and Esau has a way of moving forward with these agendas, and then people don't really notice it. They kind of accept it. People complain at certain points. They say, oh, this isn't right, this is not traditional, this is not what we should be doing, but that voice is very small, and because they get the masses of people to follow, then it's very hard to turn the tide. So you look at the situation with the NHS now here. How hard is it, do you think, it's going to be to go out and speak to people and say, no, this is leading us towards the MOTB? They're going to say, but look, this is fixing a lot of problems, and it's to do with my health. And by having these devices, it's almost like you have 24-hour healthcare and checkup. If you're a cancer patient, you've got this ring on, it's on you for 24 hours a day. If anything really bad starts to happen within your body, any changes, you'll be alerted straight away, so you don't have to worry. So trying to convince people that this is taking them into the realm of the MOTB, and it's something you shouldn't be doing, it's going to be a hard thing to convince them. And it's to do with the way the whole thing's been presented, gradualism, the technology, the way things are falling apart, the NHS is falling apart, so on and so forth. So it's all heading in that particular direction, and it's coming very soon. Keep saying this is the edge of Jacob's trouble. We're entering into it. You've got a time like never been seen before. We're going to have certain events developing, getting worse, kicking off, getting to the boil. A time like never been seen before. So we're getting there. 2025 could be that year. We need an economic collapse to pull away for the financial system to disappear, for them to be able to turn it into a digital system, and then at some point the government need to make it mandatory. And like I said at the beginning, the NHS, if you're going to use the NHS, you have to register. Like, for example, you've got illegal immigrants that are living in the UK. They have no paperwork, no proof that they're here. So they have trouble walking into the NHS and getting treatment because they don't have the basic social security numbers. So sometimes it comes to a point where they have to do this or they have to do that in order to be able to use the NHS system. They maybe they use friends' details, or they do something to manipulate the system, and this will be another thing to stop that. They'll say, well, you've got all these illegal immigrants running around using your system, the NHS, taking the resources. We can cut that out by knowing who everybody is, and so your new citizenship will ultimately be on that device, which is implanted under the skin. If you don't have the device under your skin, you're not a citizen of this particular environment. So if you're not a citizen of this particular environment, what's the next step? We'll detain him and lock him up and deport him back to where he has to go. Well, where did he has to go? Well, he's got no device under the skin. So what are you going to do with him then? Maybe do away with him, who knows what. So people are going to go run into it, especially when they get threatened, or not even threatened, but when the understanding goes out to them that you lose your citizenship by not taking this new device under the skin. Once it goes out that you can't buy or sell without this device under the skin, these people are going to go running. So I'm going to leave it right there. I hope that's edifying. Until next time, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim Rakak Wadash. And until next time, Shalom.